Last night you saw what?
Love Means Hero, the movie.
Love Means Zero. We're not going to show you any Mary Poppins movies. I'd always heard Mr. Bollettieri was a hard ass, but I didn't until just recently, until that box office movie came out about him. And then having personally talked to him now on the phone, after that, to set up some future possible collaboration, as they would say in Europe. He is a fucking hard ass. There's his way, my way or the highway. There's virtually all, except for John Wooden, who I've already mentioned, I had the privilege of knowing and meeting many years ago. Every world-class coach is the same. Hard. Again, success leaves clues. There's nobody in here, that we have a couple of pretenders, but I mean, but I'm not just this group, but I mean virtually all the groups. Since maybe the 90s. In the 90s, we had some hard asses. We had some Eastern Europeans from the wall falling down. They came to the seminar, paid in cash. I mean, we had some hard asses back in those days. But in recent years, we just don't have any hard asses. Because, ergo, there aren't any around, or they're few and far between. Or they don't need to learn this. Because they know it. And just as I told people 2 years ago that Trump was going to change the financial world and the greatest transformation of wealth the world has ever known, and I knew almost exactly what he was going to do. I mean, if you come from that into the continuum in that ilk, and you've been successful in business, you know what's got to be done. And what did I tell you ad nauseum for the first 2 days? There's never an easy time to make a hard decision. And not all, but most of the decisions that President Trump is making are all hard because somebody's pushed him off and hasn't made him. So what's some of the takeaway? Passing the homework, please. What's some of the takeaway from Love Means Zero? What?
I don't have a homework.
No? Okay. What's the takeaway on Love Means Zero?
One of the things that struck me was that he was very open in admitting, I do not have the most refined technical skills of tennis, but I know how to instill the mindset that's necessary for a win.
Well, in the beginning, the story is he had no idea of the skills other than work hard and hit 1 million balls, which was Nick Faldo, who I met many years ago, who thinks that he hit about 6 million golf balls while he was playing golf. 6 million. And he's not the most golf ball guy. I met Paul Ryan, who I had the privilege of being coached by, who won the PGA twice, beat Sam Snead, if I remember correctly, in a playoff. And he's a little teeny guy. And he figured that he had hit 15 million golf balls. And he was a golfer in the 20s, 30s, and early 40s. And he was still coaching into his middle 90s. When I worked with him, he was, I think, in his late 80s. And so Nick said, just hit a lot of golf balls, or a lot of tennis balls, excuse me, which is my theory, just work harder. And when I played golf, I hit a lot of golf balls. Ultimately built a golf course here. But he was hard. What else about Nick?
He got the results he wanted and never cared what people said about him.
Even the hardest ass guy in this room, purported, cares what people think. And more, they care what they say. Because even Captain America, he can be his career can be affected. But I know young officers that went through a career in the military. They didn't give a fuck what they said. One just died yesterday, John McCain, one of the great American heroes. Graduated either last or third from the last of his class at the Naval Academy. So you can go through life, even in a military setting, telling everybody, fuck off. So no matter if you're with IBM, General Motors, Facebook even. What else about Nick? Yes, sir.
He kind of dumped himself extremely down. He didn't think about the past, the future, if his decisions were good or bad, and just did the things, decided, and it was in his self-image. So the only explanation he had for his decision was, this is Nick, nothing else.
He made decisions in the moment. Although he did admit, and I think he even admitted in the movie, he shouldn't have told Agassi that he was firing him by a newspaper article, which is equivalent to, I guess, a tweet now. And they've never reconciled. And the thing that always amuses me is that the current day movies and stuff, they, at the end of the movie, normally the people reconcile. That's not my experience. The higher performer, the higher the performance person, the less probability that they're going to reconcile with anybody. Why? Because they don't need anybody. And almost all the big hitters I know, and President Trump is a primary example of this, a preeminent example. Saying sorry is a weakness. Apologizing is a weakness. Saying you were wrong was a weakness. What do I say? I may be wrong, but I'm never in motherfucking doubt. Every cocksucker I know. Which flies in the face of all the bullshit now. President Trump doubles down, triples down. I don't know if you can quadruple down, but, and that's my experience with those guys and the few really high-powered women that I've known. So again, it flies in the face of virtually everything you've been taught. Go tell Johnny you're sorry for taking his toy. I mean, I can go on and on, right? Right? Go tell Billy that you're sorry that you broke that shit. As opposed to, and I'm not recommending this, and that's not what the big book, the book on raising kids says, but I can't remember, Dad, I can't remember ever you telling me to go apologize to anybody. And in my neighborhood, for sure, saying you were sorry was a weakness. You would get fucking thumped good. And now, after a few generations, we are where we are. We are where we are. But anything else about Nick?
He was kind of like Steve Jobs, where he was this father figure that made everybody around him love him and kind of fight for his approval.
And having only been in one big organization, Bear Stearns, they were people. Fight's not the right word, but they wanted recognition because with recognition you got paid more money, you got more of the partnership money. And I wasn't a partner, but which reminded me of something else. When I got out of when I went back to school, and even though I didn't have to go back to school, I went back to school. After I had that light bulb go off and the general said that you could make money in the civilian world, and I went back to school, and I had to go back to university on probation because I'd flunked out 3 times, and I had to have special dispensation to go back. So and I went back, and I took as much as 26 semester units per semester. And I got out of school. I went to 2 universities simultaneously. I went to the school you got to explain about and UCLA simultaneously, which you can't do anymore. But anyway, there's a lot of things that you can't do anymore that I did, and then now they've changed the law. And then when I finally got out and I was going to graduate school, and I applied for law school. I got a scholarship to go to law school. I applied for a job. And everybody said, I'm a young officer, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I was leaving not a popular war. They spit on vets then, spit. And when Kent State kids got killed, Kent State, the National Guard shot a bunch of kids at Kent State. And I'm not condoning that, that's an awful thing. But they closed, in support, many universities across the country closed down. And I and a few of my vet buddies, which means that we were going to graduate. And we went to the dean, no fucking way we're not graduating. It's a sad thing that those little fucking, I would have said snowflakes then, but I didn't know the word then. Those little cunts got killed. That's a bad thing, and I feel for their families. But fuck them, they're already dead. You're not going to keep me from fucking graduating. So the dean, in his infinite wisdom, said, words to the effect, well, if you can get to class and take the exams, you can graduate. So I went to class with a baseball bat. We got to class, we took the exams, and we graduated. Not much different than my cricket bat days, just recently. So now they said, a young guy, officer, blah, 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 you'll get a job, no problem. I only interviewed for two companies, both Fortune 500, Dunlap and Carnation, which was a milk company then. It's now been gobbled up into a big conglomerate. I had 7 interviews with Carnation and 6 interviews with Dunlap. My last interview at Carnation was with the vice chairman, a young kid. And the vice chairman said, I'm interviewing you because we've never had anybody in the history of the company that has frightened everybody that interviewed him. Never. And I'm retiring, Mr. Peña, and so I'm not afraid, and I just wanted to meet you. But we're not going to make you a job offer. The Dunlap guy, the head of which we would call human resource now, with personnel then, was a captain, Army captain, who got out and got a job, and so he went into personnel. God knows why, but anyway. And he said, he invited me out for a drink, and he says, I think man to man, officer to officer, I should tell you why we didn't make an offer. Now, he didn't even know what the Carnation guy told me. And I said, well, what's that? I was shocked. I thought, and I wanted to get a job. And he said, because everybody that interviewed you said you were qualified, ticked all the boxes, blah, blah, blah. We know we should, hire our veterans, but nobody wants to hire somebody that fought in a war that was not popular, yada, yada, yada. And he said, but you going to work at Dunlap would be like sticking a square peg in a round hole. And you basically scared everybody. So that was the end of my corporate career. That was it. It never started. It never started. So I've been like this a long, long time. And I told some of you that when I got the award in 1991 as the most distinguished alumni in the history of the school, for the school you got to explain about, and Connie Chung, who used to be an anchor on CBS. She was a local anchor in Los Angeles in those days. And she married Maury Povich, who's a fucking guy who's got a talk show, even today, I think. They're interviewing people, and they interviewed Shirley Teeter, Dr. Teeter, who was the head of the School of Business, who was a professor when I was there. And I took her for classes both at UCLA and Northridge, Cal State Northridge. And they said, Dr. Teeter, you've known Mr. Peña a long time. Yes, yes. And what kind of changes have you seen in 25 years? She looked right in the fucking camera and she says, the only thing with Danny Peña is that his accomplishments have caught up with his big fucking mouth. This is the dean of a big school. I never heard her say a swear word in her whole life. Never. Same event. They interviewed my dad. And my dad had already embarrassed me years before when I got a big award as the Hispanic Man of the Year, or whatever the fuck I was. And I said, Dad, don't talk to anybody. But they seeked him out, and they said, and he said the exact same thing he did several years before when I got that award. And he said that, of course, I'm very proud of my son. And he looked right in the camera, and he said, but my son's, now this is really germane to you guys and why you're fucked up. So listen carefully, please. And to the fucking meatheads on YouTube. My son's success, he was successful in spite of me, not because of me. Where's Churchill? You're going to be successful in spite of your fucking dad, not because of him. In spite, not because. So it hasn't changed, you know. And just like you heard Oscar Wilde, Alexander the Great, to name two, talk about, I think I'm here because of my dad, basically because he fucked some old hag, but I'm thankful for my mentor. And the system's ass backwards. And even though some of you may have marginally good parents or dad, most of you have sub rosa, and look that up. You can Google fuck it. Sub rosa, you have daddy problems. Because you saw what your dad did, and you're really deaf to what he said. On a subconscious level, or sub rosa. And that's why they've gravitated to Nick, father figure they didn't have. I think it's quite remarkable. 30, 35 years ago, people just leaving their 6, 7, 8-year-old kid there and walking away. That's what should have happened to you. Sound very Spartan, doesn't it? And I think Coach Bollettieri said someplace, not in the conversation I had with him personally on the phone a couple of weeks ago, I wish I could have got the kids younger. Because you can still get damage done to you 3, 4, and 5. And I spent so much time about this, and notwithstanding Josh is here, and because his parents, by design, raised him and he and his brothers and sisters in a certain way, which is much better, i.e., to produce high performance kids, high performance anybody. Okay, YouTube. Talk to you later.